Hey guys, it's your girl, it's Queen Elsa Haru, and I'm here with another exciting edition of Ask An Aquarius. Okay, so today I got a question about a video that I did yesterday. Yesterday I did a video where I talked about depression, and somebody gave me a message and said, what do you do when the reason why you're depressed is the people in your life? Now, this is very common. Very, very common. I hear this a lot from a lot of people. And when you are suffering from depression, and it's because the people in your life are abusing you or making you miserable, you have to then reconsider those relationships. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your mother. I don't care if it's your husband. I don't care if it's your children. If someone is being abusive towards you, you have the obligation to yourself to decide if you want to stay in that relationship and what that looks like. Because number one, just because somebody is related to you or in a relationship with you for a long term does not mean that you allow them to abuse you. If you're an abuse is a lot of different things. Some of these things that would cause a person to be depressed, as far as situational depression is concerned, it could be a lot of different things. It could be that your mother is always putting you down when she comes around. It could be that your sister is always spreading your business behind your back. It could be that your husband is putting you down and knocking your dreams and telling you you're worthless. Any of these situations are abusive, and quite frankly, you don't have to put up with them just because the person is related to you, or because you've been married to them, or because you've been with them, or they're your best friend since high school. You don't have to put up with any of this. If somebody is abusing you, the intelligent thing to do is to put distance between the two of you. Now, some of the times the distance is permanent. Some of the times you will put these people out of your lives for good. And in some cases you should, and you should have been done it. Now, a lot of people get angry with me when I say that, because they're like, well, this is my mom, this is my husband, this is my this is my that. Well, guess what? Whatever that person is, whoever that person is to you, is messing up your quality of life. You are allowing, again, I said about leaving the door open. You are opening your door and welcoming in abuse. And then wondering why you're depressed. Because you're allowing people who are abusive to tear at your spirit. You're allowing people who may care about you but don't know how to treat you into your circle. So that has to change immediately. And if you have to talk with them and let them know, like, look, this is not acceptable, and if you're going to keep doing this, you're not going to be in my life. That's the bottom line. That's what you say to them. And if they continue the behavior past the point of a month, 2 months, then you need to distance yourself from these people. Some of the times it's a matter of moving. Maybe you live with them and you need to move. Maybe it's your husband and you need to do a separation. It's a lot of different things. Each time is going to be a case-by-case basis. But it doesn't matter who it is. I have I know an acquaintance, and her son is out of pocket. He's 16 years old. He's stealing cars. He's getting arrested. I mean, he's doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, okay, you know, he's 16 years old. You have to, you know, you're his guardian, so you have to help him through the situation that he's in. But I'm like, once he turns 18, you don't have to live with him. You know, one of the things that she was telling me is that she's afraid to go to sleep at night because she doesn't know what he's going to do in the house when he is there. Because mind you, he's in and out of juvie, he's in and out of trouble. And when he is there, she's afraid to go to sleep because he's bringing people in and out the house. He's, you know, stealing her stuff. He's doing all kind of stuff. And I'm like, yo, you are going to have to, for his own good, for the tough love that he needs, you're going to have to cut him loose. Now, right now, he's 16 years old. You were his legal guardian, so you were responsible for him. But in the next 2 years, if this behavior has still continued with him and he's still being abusive towards you, I mean, he's like to the point where he's hitting his mother, stealing things from his mother. And people are like, oh, that's your son, you got to deal with it. Yeah, you do got to deal with it until they're 18. When he turns 18, I will kick his butt right to the curb. Because what has happened with him is that he does not realize he needs to respect the place that he lays his head. So if you don't respect the place you lay your head, then you won't lay your head here anymore. Now, these kind of things are not easy. Dealing with kids who had drug problems or things along those lines, dealing with family members, spouses. Nobody said these things are going to be easy. As a matter of fact, I guarantee you they're going to be very difficult. But when it comes to adults, the children you have to deal with to a certain point, but when it comes to adults, you have to look at the relationship and change the relationship, or you have to leave the relationship. When it comes to children, under 18, you need to look at the dynamics of the relationship and see what you can do as far as maybe counseling, family therapy, things along those lines. And if it doesn't change by the time they are an adult, you have to consider some tough love and backing out of their lives while they get themselves together. It's never the easiest thing to do, but some of the times it's the only thing that saves their life. If you watch Intervention, it's a show that comes on about people who are drug addicted. One of the things they tell the parents is that you're enabling them. You're helping them kill themselves, basically. So the longer that you put up with their bad behavior, you're helping them kill themselves. You're helping them kill you. So the bottom line is that you have to look at the relationship. And if it's a grown person, then you may need to cut ties for a significant amount of time or forever. Some people are going to be abusive forever. One of the people that I really, really care about has the worst verbal, emotional, abusive streak you've ever seen in your life. Just lashes out for no reason, just moody. And sometimes he's fine and sometimes he's crazy. So what did I do? Put him out of my life. You can't put up with that. You can't let that nasty energy keep coming into your life, because it will keep you depressed. It will keep you anxious. And it's not even beneficial to you in the long run. You're holding on to them probably out of codependency. It's not beneficial to you at all. If it's your child or your family member, it's more of a familial energy. So it's definitely a really different thing, but it's still the same bottom line. You can't keep letting your father talk down to you. You can't keep on allowing those things to happen. You have to be an adult and you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to say, look, Dad, I'm not a kid anymore. And you can't keep verbally abusing me. You can't keep on emotionally abusing me and think I'm going to keep coming around. So even though that is a difficult thing to admit to yourself and to your father and to the situation, but it's the truth. And it's the only way you're going to come out of your depression is for you to deal with that energy, to separate yourself from those people and to go and deal with yourself, because you've now taken on trauma from the abuse, and in some cases PTSD from the abuse. And what really gets me a lot about in families is that people will be abusing a family member. They'll be dogging a family member, and then they'll blame the family member when they respond negatively. Well, how did you expect the person to respond when you're treating them this way? How do you expect them to respond when they can't trust you? How do you expect them to respond when you're hurting them every time they come around you? How do you expect them to respond when you're telling their children bad things about them? How do you expect them to respond? And people just fall into these negative patterns and they never stop. You'll be dead and the pattern will still be going on. So my thing to people who tell me that they're in a depression because of the people in their life, check the people in your life. And if you cannot get them to change, if you cannot work on the relationship, if you cannot change things, if you cannot modify, transform things, then you need to drop them like a bad habit. Drop them. You might be able to pick them back up later. It's very possible. A lot of times when you drop somebody, they realize that you're serious, and then they're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to work on this with you. Sometimes you need to drop them for a significant amount of time. And if they're verbally abusive, if they're physically abusive, those kind of things, sometimes you have to drop them forever. And you have to be okay, because self-preservation is key. So if you have to drop your father because he's an abusive alcoholic and he keeps on trying to beat on your kids, then that's what you have to do. It's okay. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your children. You have to protect your interests. And do not allow somebody to do that to you just because they're your blood relative or they're family. I understand that. I have a big family. My mother had 13 brothers and sisters. I have a huge family. But the truth is that family can be just as abusive as strangers. I've had some strangers treat me better than family. Seriously. And some of the times, that's just how it is. So the bottom line is that if you identify family members who are making you depressed, who are negative, who are ugly, then you have to allow yourself to step away. And yes, this may be painful. Yes, it may be difficult. But if it's for your best, if it's for your greater good, then you have to go ahead and do it. And if this person refuses to change, refuses to honor the relationship that they have with you, then some of the times that's just what you have to do. You just have to back off your energy. And you have to be okay with that. You know, people get really angry with me when I tell them that. I had one client, she was so pissed at me because I told her, your mother is abusing you. Your mother, you're living with this person, you're in your 30s, number one, you're living with your mother, and your mother is abusing you. She's yelling at you, she's talking down to you, she's telling your kids that you ain't this and you ain't that. You know, every time you turn around, she's asking you for more and more money. She's using you and she's abusing you. And this person was very angry with me and was like, well, that's my mom and that's just how it is. Well, okay, then deal with it then. What are you asking me about it for then? Why are you asking me what to do about an abusive person but don't like my answer? The bottom line is when you're dealing with an abusive person, you work with that person to have a better relationship or you leave that person alone. She told me her mother would not work with her. Her mother would not go to therapy. Her mother was not interested in changing. Well, if she's not interested in treating you better, then there's nothing you can do. Separate from her. Go about your business. Get your own place. You know, there's a lot of different things that you can do to change this situation, to change this dynamic. I've noticed that most people who are being abused do not want to change the dynamic. They don't like the abuse, they don't like the situation, but they don't really want to do anything to change it. So you're going to keep getting abused. So this is my message for you guys today as far as depression is concerned. Depression part 2, I guess we'll call this, is that if you're being abused by someone and it's causing your depression, you have to do something about it. And every situation is going to be a little bit different based on the relationship dynamic. If it is a spouse, you always have the option of possibly separating or divorcing. If it's your child, you gotta find ways, clever ways to therapeutically deal with it. If they're an adult, you have to consider if you have or have not tried to work through this with them. If you haven't tried, it's always worth the effort because that is your baby. But if you have tried and things are not working and they're doing drugs, they're coming in the house trying to smack you, they're stealing your jewelry, you have got to really change that dynamic. And some people will say, well, that's my child. Yeah, but if my daughter came in here right now high off PCP and smacked me around, I would have a very aggressive response to that. I'm not just going to allow anybody to just abuse and beat on me. Not anymore, not at this point in my life. I've experienced abuse as a young person. I've experienced abuse through different emotional, mental, physical abuse through different times in my lifetime, different avenues. And at this point in my life, you raise your hand to me, you drawing back a nub. I'm not allowing myself to be abused anymore because I love myself. And self-preservation is key to my spirit. So this is true of all of us. You are the most important project that you have to work on. So if somebody is harming you, stop allowing it. Close the door. Seek therapy. Get somebody to help you. If this is hard for you, if the codependency is too strong, seek therapy. Get some help. Somebody can help you work through this, but you have to be willing to do it. What I'm finding with a lot of people when it comes to mental health issues, especially when it comes to emotional situations with other people, they're unwilling to do the work that it takes. Like, some people will do the work to lose weight. Some people will do the work to get healthy. Some people will do the work to get a job, a business, but they won't do the work to have better relationships in their lives, have a better relationship with themselves, have a better relationship with their creator. You know, people are be very quick to work on something that's like more easily tangible, like I said, a job or something like that. They'll save up money to get a house. They'll do all kind of things like that. But when you say you need to work on the dynamic between you and your mother, you need to work on the dynamic between you and your child, you need to work on the dynamic between you and your husband, things are really bad, then they'll be like, oh, and they'll kind of brush it off. One time I saw a movie and the woman asked her, why do you stay with a cheating husband? Which to me is abuse as well. If somebody is betraying your trust, you're definitely being abused. And she said, oh, I get by. What? What are you talking about? What you're saying is you're unwilling to deal with the situation. You're unwilling to change it. You're unwilling to deal with the dynamic and the fact that you may have to leave this person, or you may have to do whatever with this person. So my thing to you is that it is not going to be easy, but if you have identified someone in your life that's making you miserable, making you depressed, abusing you, putting you through changes, doing negative things to you, no matter who the person is, you have to look at the relationship dynamic and you have to do what you can to change it. And if you cannot work with this person, if you cannot change things with this person, you absolutely do not stay in the relationship and allow them to just keep on beating on you, keep on yelling at you, keep on talking down to you. It is killing your spirit. It is hurting you. So you have to have the courage to raise up. You have to have the courage to walk away from somebody that you might really love because they're hurting you. That's not easy to hear, people. It wasn't easy for me to hear it either, but I had to do it. It's not easy for any of us to hear it. It's not even, it's even harder to do it. But it's the only way to preserve yourself, and it's the only way to make things better. So I hope this video helps you. I know that this particular topic, especially this one, is really difficult. Like I told you, people have gotten mad at me about it. I understand. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, that's the answer. That's it. And if you don't want to take that answer, that's fine. You can allow these people to keep abusing you and leaving you into a state of depression and not caring and, you know, running your business and treating you like crap. You can allow that if you want to. Is going to kill your spirit, is negatively, you know, chipping away at you. And if you want that, you can allow that. But I guarantee you that's not what you want. You want better relationships. You want happiness. You want to be fulfilled. And if the people in your life can't understand that and they can't step up to the plate, then they don't need to be in your life. It's Queen Said Haru, dropping a truth bomb. Deuces.